This episode is brought to you by Pizza Odyssey. If you're in the Lakeland, Florida area and you're feeling maybe, hey, I'm a little hungry tonight, Pizza Odyssey is the place for you. Honestly, it's become one of my favorite pizza spots here in Lakeland lately, right around the Lake Morton area. They make their own dough, make their own sauce, everything there. It's incredible. You need to go over there, try it. You can get a regular slice or you could try one of their specialty pies. It's incredible. Make sure you head over there and let them know we sent you. Pizza Odyssey in Lakeland, Florida. Well, hey, today on the show, we have a singer-songwriter and a great friend of mine. We're going to talk a little bit about hurricanes, working as a teacher, and his new music coming out. Come on, welcome to the show, Michael Delgado. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, what's up, man?
Good to have you, dude.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Dude, we're doing this right now in the midst of a hurricane approaching us. And I feel like we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I've lived in Florida for the last 28 years and experienced quite a few hurricanes. I'm not as worried. I've had a lot of family members from outside of the state like texting me and being like, did you get water? Did you get this? And honestly, I didn't even know until yesterday morning
that this was going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah. I had no idea. I was supposed to hang out with a friend, and he's like, "Hey, I'm leaving town. I'm supposed to be on a flight tomorrow, but because of the hurricane, I'm gonna have to drive up there or something." And I was like, "Hurricane?" So then I looked it up.
Oh man, he's leaving town.
Yeah. Well,
is he a new Floridian or
he's already leaving town?
Okay.
It's Christian Cedric. You
have
him on the podcast.
Okay, yeah. But we just start like bash like he's so scared.
He's a wimp. He's so scared.
Right.
No, but he's a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
And so he has a really big wedding coming up in Nashville, and he's supposed to fly out either today or tomorrow.
That'll change your flight.
Right. Yeah. So. But I was like, oh, we have a hurricane coming, and then I started looking it up and
same, dude. I got a text from my dad today saying like, do you know where your safe place is? And I was like, what does he mean? I got
asked that question a lot when I was 5 years old.
That's something I should be hearing from my therapist, not but I got it. I was like, oh yeah, I think we're gonna be solid.
Yeah.
You grew up in Florida though, so you've probably gone through a number of these things, right?
Yeah, I went through a couple of them. I almost said Katrina. I don't know. That was definitely not in Florida.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Irma was the last big one a couple of years ago. Well, you were here for that one too.
I was here for that one.
And then we had a couple years ago. Honestly, hurricanes are kind of a rager. You know what I mean? For a Floridian, I feel like, obviously not me whenever, because I was a child, but when I was younger, my parents and all my family members would just kind of get up and all get to a house. It'd be me and 6 of my cousins and aunts, uncles, grandparents. Everybody would just go to the house and, get some drinks, you get some food.
You just hang out.
Kind of ride it out. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely, growing up in Georgia, it definitely happened for me. I think a lot less often. I do remember one though that bro, it destroyed our school.
Oh, really?
Which
it tore it down?
It was a brand new gymnasium. I think it was a year or two old. Imagine your school gathers millions of dollars to build this whole new gymnasium. And then this tornado a year later just almost demolished it.
Jeez.
It's funny now being an adult, you're looking at that and you're like, oh, that's so sad. As a kid, you're like, let's go. School's out. It's
millions of dollars down the drain.
Devastating. But that was the only one that I feel I can remember. Dude, but it was, at least for our hurricane thing was kind of my vibe was always okay, cool, just put on a good movie and I just chill. What's your hurracane like? What's your hurricane setup?
Yeah,
what you working with?
What's your setup? Take us through a tour. The worst thing about a hurricane for me is definitely the power going out. And I feel every hurricane that I've ever been in Florida, we've lost power at least for a day or so. So that's just something I'm not looking forward to, especially because I live in a house that was built in the 50s. And so I went out, I was gonna go get like a mini split put into my studio space that I have in the back of my house.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine came over and he was like, okay, cool. Like, let's take a look. So we're doing a couple things. And then he goes to look at the side of my house, and the wiring to like from like the the power line or whatever to my house is so crazy.
Yeah.
Like it literally looks like if you like look at the back of your desk and you just have a bunch of cords like kind of like all crossed together and you just kind of crumple up everything. That's what like the wiring on the side of my house looks like.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It's like all exposed and like painted over. And he's like, who did this?
Yeah.
I don't know. This house was built like almost 100 years ago. I don't know.
Dude, what year? That would be good to figure out. What year was like the housing department or whatever oversees that? Just like, we got to put some regulations on like this stuff. Dude, we had a house a while back that was a 1920s house. And there was times where like we'd take a shower, right? And you would start to hear the toilet just go blub, 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 like this weird bubbling.
Yeah.
And it was like roots growing through, and so water couldn't pass, whatever.
Yeah.
So after 6 times of paying to get it like cleaned out, we were like, we got to get this like fixed.
Right.
So they go down, dig a hole, come to find out at some point. So like, right, 1920s, this could have been like anywhere within that 100-year span.
Yeah.
They dug it up, and there was like a crack in the pipe.
Oh, geez.
And so they cut a paint can and set it on top of it and just said like, that'll do. And then just covered dirt over it.
No way.
So yeah, just for like maybe 50, 60, 70 years, there was just like half a paint can just sitting on top of it. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Who approves this stuff?
I don't know, man. The housing, I guess whoever the inspectors were a different breed back then. But
yeah.
Assuming the power doesn't go out, I do love a good movie. Something comforting, like do like a Star Wars, like a Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Or like an old like action movie. Like I don't know, like Rambo, Rocky, Over the Top. I guess Sylvester Stallone movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And a lot of snacks.
Dude, yeah. When I feel like when it's a storm and it's like nothing else to do but just sit inside and it's like kind of gloomy out, that's like the only time that I'm cool with like horror movies.
Oh yeah.
I don't like, and it's like, I feel like horror genre, this is such a random topic to get into, but like it's so vast that there's like, I really don't like the weird demonic and stuff like that.
Sure.
That keeps me up for days.
Yeah.
But just like the classic flicks, like, Freddy or Jason or like Halloween's.
A good slasher.
Like,
yep.
I like that. Yeah. My 3-year-old hates it, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, can you imagine?
I make him watch.
We're watching this.
I make him finish the movie, but he hates it.
Yeah.
You remember when like high school, I guess I think you're a little bit older than me, but like around high school, middle school era, when Insidious first came out, the first one.
Dude, yes.
And like people thought it was real. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Wait. Yes, Insidious, but there was also other movie, Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity, that's what I'm talking about.
That's the one.
When people thought Paranormal Activity was real.
Because it looked so real.
Yeah, well, I feel like it never, there's like cam movies.
All those kind of movies.
Like Blair Witch Project but I feel like there wasn't one in like a house with like security cameras.
Yeah.
And like I watched it as like an 11-year-old, 12-year-old. At my friend's house for a sleepover, and I thought it was real. I was like, how did we get this movie?
Dude, do you remember there's a scene in that movie? The one that sticks with me is like, I think it's like towards the end when it's like, it's panning through their security footage and like the homie's sitting on the couch and he's just chilling. And then it pans through and you keep seeing the house, and then it pans back and there's someone behind him, like that the girl or something like that. Then it pans away and then it pans back and she's closer. That kind of stuff like freaks me out.
I hate
dude.
it.
Yeah, I hate that.
You remember? I know randomly we're talking about horror now. Do you remember it was kind of like a trick, but back in like early internet days, you had like those like puzzles, and then like if you got to a certain point, it would just like do a big jump scare at you.
Yeah. Well, like the commercial, right? Like what the commercial or the video, whatever, where the car goes behind the tree. It's the same thing. You've seen that one?
No, I don't think I've seen that. Mine was more like we used to do this with like our friends where they would like, it'd be like a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you'd like click the buttons or you'd
You're
solve
trying
the
to
puzzle.
like, it makes you really focus on the screen.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's dead silent. There's just like maybe like a click or like a little boop or whatever whenever you do things. And then just like the nastiest like grudge girl comes on the screen and like,
100%,
it's super loud. Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. I'll have to show this to you so you don't sleep for a while. But there's like an old video of like this car driving around the mountains, and I feel like maybe it's came out when I was like younger, whatever. But like this car's driving around the mountains, and then it goes behind this tree line, and then the camera pans, but the car is like gone.
Right.
And so you're like really looking intently, and then it's the same thing. Like the grudge girl just like comes to the screen and screams. Dude, that was another one, dude.
Sucks, dude.
Like The Grudge or The Ring. Those are different movies, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But The Ring, dude, I remember watching that at my friend's house, and I was probably like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Dude, it made me so scared of the TV.
Right. Yeah.
I remember being like, dude, I need to unplug this TV and like get this out of my room.
Yes.
Because I could wake up and she could be standing there.
Yeah.
It felt so real, dude.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, I look back now and I'm like, I had like zero regulation on movies that I was watching when I was a
right?
child.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess they're like, yeah, just go. Well, he'll sort it out in therapy one day. I don't know.
Dude, I feel like that's the same.
So many like irrational phobias that come from watching like random scary movies as a kid.
Yeah. I just never, I mean, that's true. I feel like I had a pretty big freedom to just watch whatever movie that I wanted. I never had like this, I never really had this like desire of like, oh, I really want to be scared, you know? So I watched a few of those movies. Mostly it was like, I watched a lot of comedy movies that were just like way too old for me to like, 100%. To understand, you know? But I'll sort that out later, you know, and figure all that out.
I watched Superbad with my dad when I was like, I think it was like, maybe middle school.
Yeah.
And he was like, he'll get it. You know what I mean?
He'll figure it out. Yeah. Can you imagine?
And he's like, my dad is just crying, laughing because he like, you know what I mean? He was like, that was him as a kid. You know, he's very just like getting into trouble, like, you know, trying to like get drinks whenever he was on, like, you know what I mean? He's just like that. Like he was a kid in like
reminiscing
the 80s, you know what I mean? Just doing that. So he's just watching this movie and like crying, laughing. And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
no idea what's going on, dude.
Oh man,
things like that. So not a comedy, but I remember my dad like thinking this was like a cool bonding moment to take me to go see Dawn of the Dead when it came out in theaters, and like I was like 10, maybe whatever. So we go in the theater, and the first scene, like we're sitting there, packed out theater. The first scene is like this like wife and husband are like kind of getting ready for bed, and like they're getting in their bed, and then like their bed like direct look down kind of looks down their long hallway, and they see their daughter standing at the end of the hallway, just kind of really still and ominous, right? And then they're like, what's up, like, sweetie, everything okay? And she walks in, and the closer you get, the more you realize like half of her face is gone. Like, and they're like, oh my God, like freaking out, what happened? And then it's like, of course, like she's a zombie. She starts like tearing him apart, all this stuff. I remember being dead, and like I stood up in the theater and went, nope, and like and walked out and left. And I guess my dad just was like, all right. He called my mom. She rolled around in the front. She picked me up and like he finished the movie. I was like, done.
He's like, I paid for these tickets. I got
I gotta go through this. Yeah. And it's also like, what were tickets? Like $4.
Right. Yeah.
Then, you know,
it's like, oh man, that $8 is really gonna hurt my pocket.
Oh yeah. Well, it's an investment, you know.
I'll just send my 10-year-old son out in the lobby. He'll just wait.
He'll find his way. Oh, well, dude, I'm glad that you're here, man. And thanks for doing this episode again, man. It's been cool. I know we've known each other for a while now, dude. And what's cool about this, I can know like you and I've known each other from just like a number of different like walks in life, right? Like we've been serving at the same church for a while. We went to the same college. We work together now, which is fun. And we've both like had a similar recent job. Like we both came from like teaching for a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
Do you miss that at all? Do you miss teaching?
You know, I've been asked this question many times, and I feel like my answer is sometimes I miss the kids.
Yeah.
Because I taught middle school, and like you just can't write the things that happen in middle school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just too good. The comedy is too good. The situational like things that kids get into is just so funny to me.
Yeah.
That like, I wish I could be like a fly on the wall in the classroom again, just to like see the crazy stuff that happens. Cause kids are so awkward. They're trying to figure themselves out. So I miss interacting with the students and like, you know, being in that context. I don't miss like the actual job at all. It was not fun.
Yeah. Dude, I feel the same. I have a huge respect for career teachers and people who go into that. And I miss the kids because it's like, in the context that I taught, like some of the kids that I taught were coming from pretty rough walks of life and backgrounds and all that. So I miss like the funny moments, but I also miss like the special moments that we had with them.
For sure.
But other than that, dude, I don't.
It's rough.
It's like it takes a special person, and I'm not that special, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not built
dude,
that way.
I think would be fun right now for us to share a couple stories from teaching. Because there are, like you said, like there are moments where it's like, dude, I can't make this up. And I hope that it relays as funny as it felt to me, like in the moment, like on an audio podcast. But maybe you share a story and then I'll share something too.
Yeah. So we had a kid that was, he was kind of like, part of the story is like sad, I guess, because he was kind of in and out of foster care, but he was just so like, he would just do stuff that was so off the wall where I'm like, dude, I don't even understand like what, like obviously it was all for attention. Right.
Yeah.
But like he would like, so I was a science teacher and there was one day where he just like came into the room and he's like, I got something to do. And I'm standing at the front and I'm greeting all the students as they come in. You know, you get their whole routine. The bell works up on the board. I'm playing lo-fi hip hop beats. He's like, I got something to do. So he runs into my room, throws his backpack down, and immediately goes back into my back closet. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, what is going on? So I'm like, hey, can you watch the door? I go in there, and he's locked the closet from the inside. So I'm like, I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, like there's chemicals back there. There's like,
dude, like, what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? So then I go around through the other teacher's room and go in there, and I'm like, hey, my other teacher, you know, we were really good friends. I'm like, hey, you know, we'll call him Conrad. Conrad's he's in the thing. Can I go through your classroom to get into, you know, what he's doing in there? So she's like, yeah. So we run around, we go through. He doesn't know the other door is unlocked and disconnected. So we come in, and he's got like all of these different things. I don't even know what he was doing, but he has a big like bowl in front of him, and like a witch's brew, he's just pouring in like, different chemicals into the thing, and there's stuff happening because it's like it's all active stuff. Like I use it for experiments. So like I thank God he didn't like find like the ammonia and stuff, because then he probably could have freaking gassed us all out and like
for sure.
But he's like, and stuff's bubbling, and it's like he's like, oh, it's getting hot. He's like, it's like heating up, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I saw something on YouTube that I wanted to try.
Dude, I love that. Like either the night before or that morning, he was like, I got this. I gotta do this. I have to do this today.
Yeah, he like, I guess he saw a video of like, and he's like, oh yeah, he's probably got that in there. And I'm like, can you even read what these bottles say? He's like, no, not really, but they look the same as the video. So,
He came with a list. He's like, it's gonna work. Trust me. You're gonna be impressed.
He like has a lab coat and everything. He's like, you're gonna want to see this. This is crazy.
Dude, I had these two kids. They're awesome. I'll also just change names just if need be. But like, we were in like kind of like going up the mountain. So outside of Harrisburg, PA, going up towards the mountains. So we had kids that came from like downtown Harrisburg, but then we also had kids that came from the mountains. So like a very country redneck kind of vibe. Like, and that's what they wanted to be, right? Like they wanted that persona of like, I'm country. They would come just with like, you know, like, but it's also like the middle school or high school thought of like, this is cool. Right. Just like mud completely caked all over their shoes. And it's like, dude, you can knock your shoes off or like wash them off at home. Right. It's like, no, this is the look. Yeah. But like these two kids, two boys like in my class. They would always come and they wanted that personality of like,
Right.
oh, I'm like a ranch hand. I'm like, you know,
They're playing Fortnite till like 3 a.m. But then they put on their camo and they're like, I run these streets.
Well, the stories they would tell me, I'm like, dude, do you know? I know you're 14. Like he would tell me about his shift at the rock quarry. I'm like, dude, I know you're 14.
I'm working out in the oil mill.
Yeah, he's like, I was working till 3 a.m. like digging out with the tractor, like in the rock. I'm like, dude, you're 14. I know that. I know, like they don't allow that. But that was this whole persona, right? Yeah. And not to get like political or anything, but they were just like, you know, they were very like, they thought it was cool to be like super country, super redneck. And they were like very like Republican, especially as like we were kind of in like election time and all that stuff.
Right,
but like that was their whole vibe. And I say that because I was teaching history and like politics at the time, like the understanding of the government and all that. And so there was this day where I was gonna like help them like more or less like build a democracy, like build their country, right? Like what's the laws and what kind of like, you know, like what kind of government does your country actually more lean towards, or what is it, right?
Right.
And so they're just like, you know, they come with all their ideas and they're building it. So I'm building them out for this and all this kind of stuff. And I just like, okay, what does your country believe in this? And they're like, yeah, we believe that, you know, everything's free. Like there's no like, everything's like open to anybody. Like everybody gets the same amount of money, like all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And so we just start building this out and I'm like, guys, that's cool. Like your country's built, man. And they're like, what's it like? Like, well, if I'm being honest with you, it's kind of like socialism. And just like, yeah, dude, just the pause, the silence in the room, because we only had 4 or 5 kids in the class at the time, so they were like the main 2. The silence in the room, and it was like, what? Like, just like, well, yeah, this is like what you guys want in your country. This is kind of what happens in socialism, but we can change it. And they're like, yeah, no, we gotta change it. But it was just like this glass breaking moment of like, what do I believe? You know?
So
like,
funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's hilarious, dude.
Dude, yeah, but yeah, I've got some other one. Do you have another one?
Yeah. I had another one where it's the same kid. And again, he would always do stuff whenever I was like at the door, because he knew like that was my time to like be like kind of focused away from the classroom. So then he came in and he looked at me when he came in. I was like, hey, Conrad, what's up? What's going on, buddy? He's like, you know what? I've been thinking a lot about this class. And mind you, he's like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
Like he's very tall. He's probably weighs like a max of like 60 pounds. He's a very, very tiny kid. He's like, you know what? I've been thinking about this class. I've been thinking about it. And I really want to take this seriously. And I know that I haven't been good, but I'm going to have a good day today. I'm going to have a good day. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's great. I'm glad that you're setting a goal for yourself. Like, you know, it's good that you're taking some accountability for your actions. And, you know, that's great. Like, he's like, okay, I'm going to go get my journal and I'm going to go start on the bell work right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, I'm assuming that he's going to go and do his thing. So he goes into the classroom, and then I'm greeting students, and I kind of feel relief because I always have to watch him. But now I'm like, okay, he said he's going to have a good day, so let's just see what happens. And I always play like the lo-fi hip hop beats in my class, like when they come in, just so they can kind of like unwind, and it's loud outside, and I just try to keep it really chill. And all of a sudden I hear the music stop, and I'm like, okay, so maybe it's just buffering, you know, YouTube is buffering or something, or maybe there's an ad that's going to come up or whatever. And then I just hear like the nastiest like trap song you can think of.
Right.
Just like cussing, expletive, drug, like just like the most dirty song you can think of comes on full max volume.
Right.
So then I walk in the classroom and I look, and he's over at my computer, And not only did he pull up the song, he pulled up the music video and put it on full screen on my smartboard. And so there's like it's just like girls like twerking. It's like guys with like guns out and masks. Dude, like, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, this is my favorite song. He's like, you like this, don't you? You like this?
I'll take it seriously tomorrow. I'll take it seriously tomorrow.
I'm like, dude, I thought you said you're gonna have a good day today. He's like, I'm gonna have a good day. I'm having a great day.
Oh, that's what you.
I'm like, okay, that's what you meant. I thought you said you were gonna be good. He's like, oh no, I just meant I was gonna have a good day today.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna do anything in this class. I'm just gonna have more fun in it.
Right. Yeah. He was having a great day. And then he was shortly removed from my classroom. And I'm sure, I mean, maybe that's what he wanted to get out, but you know, that's always how those things go.
Dude, I had this this kid who ultimately, man, he was awesome. He was a lot of fun. Like, I'm gonna call him Jay just for the sake of this. So Jay, he, and I think he understands this too. Like it's funny, like he actually like Facebook messaged, but isn't that a weird thing? It's like your students like don't care about you at all. Like they kind of like despise you while you're their teacher. As soon as you move on and you leave that job, they all want to like follow you on social media or like stuff like this. It's like, dude, why? Like we had a rule, especially because the type of school we were, like we dealt with kids who had come from like, they had gotten kicked out of their previous school or maybe needed more help, like in learning, like because of maybe a disability or whatever, but they weren't allowed to follow us on social media. Sure. So now it's like, oh, now like you're trying to act like my buddy or whatever. But yeah, he messaged me on Facebook. He's doing fine. But anyways, Jay would like loved attention, dude. Like it was just like anything I can do to get the most attention. And like, I guess as like a 14, 15-year-old, you just do what it takes. Cause like, so some of the stuff he did, like this isn't the funniest part about it, but like at lunch, like we would all sit together and he would just like purposefully try to make like the grossest concoctions. Right. Like, and it's like, dude, this is your lunch.
Classic.
Like,
yeah.
Like you can enjoy this. And I told him that, like I'd pull him aside and be like, hey man, like, I don't want you to get sick. And I also just want you to enjoy your lunch. Like we think you're funny. We think you're funny, you know? Like, but he would like if it was peas, like peas is like their veggie, he would just pour ranch like all over it and just like drown it. So it was like pea soup and ranch. Like he would do like everything that you would think would be gross. Like he would do that. Like if it was like a certain sauce on the totally opposite side of food.
Dipping a burger in chocolate milk.
That's exactly 100%. He'd just do anything gross. But the other thing he would do that just like, it's kind of like when like a little kid does something wrong, but it's like funny and you're trying to correct, but you're trying to also stop laughing. Yeah. It's like whenever he needed correction. So if it was like, Jay, like, hey, stay in line with us, buddy. We're walking back to class together. Or if somebody he didn't like, he would just look at you. And he wasn't like a fit kid. It wasn't like overly fit. He was just like, you know, kind of chunky kid, whatever. But he had this ability to like just make his pecs dance. And so every time you're having a serious conversation with him and like being like, hey man, listen, when we were back in lunch, you did this. He would just be dancing his pecs this whole time. And you would have to verbally say like, dude, stop moving your pecs. Please stop moving your pecs. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're just like bouncing. It's like, okay, dude, stop. It's funny. Like, I need to move on.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But it's honestly, it worked for him because it probably got him out of some stuff. We just laughed on it.
Honestly, great move on him.
Good for him.
I have no answer to that. You know what I mean?
You win.
That's like the equivalent of like you get into a fight and like you just like get naked. Like, what do you do? I can't respond to that. I just have to back down.
Especially in a school, bro. Like, please don't do that.
It's crazy.
Dude, yeah. There's some other funny ones, man. Like our school was unique. So like there were like coming from the situation where we had a lot of kids that came from like bad backgrounds or poverty or just like disabilities. Some of the like stuff was sad, but we did have some fun moments. There was one like we had a kid. He was, I kid you not, 7 foot.
Wow.
He might have been 7'2", to be honest. Like he was one of the tallest people I've met in my life. He came to our school because so he has autism and it was just really hard for him to do well at his school. So a smaller school with more focused was like beneficial for him. But when something went wrong, he would just completely shut down. Yeah. And no teacher in our school could figure out what to do, like how to bring him back from this like shut down state.
Right.
And one day I tried something that worked, and it became like I was the guy. So he loved Batman. Loved Batman.
Right,
He'd always
right,
wear
yeah.
like a Batman shirt, or like and it was Batman and the color purple. That was like his favorite things.
Right.
And one day I just like got near him and I started talking like Batman. I was like, "Hey Greg," or "Hey G," like in like a deep voice, and he'd be like, he just like cocked his head and like looked at me and be like, "I'm Batman," like that. And he'd be like, and he just looked at me and was like, "I'm Batman."
You Batman for real?
and it was just like it was the cure. So now every time they were like, "Hey, hey G, shut down in class. Alec, can you come over here and be Batman?"
for a few minutes.
So I was like,
That's crazy.
"Yeah, dude. I don't know how you put that on a resume, but it might help at
The
some
school
point."
invested actually in a Batman costume for.
Can
for
you imagine? It's
You
just
come
like
in,
full.
jump in the classroom. I heard someone's having a hard day today.
Can you imagine just like in between classes, like I'm sitting in like, teacher's lounge, just like chilling, just full suit, just like just taking a load off.
Smoke break outside.
Right.
Jeez. It's a hard day today.
Dude, yeah. I don't know. I think there's probably some other ones. I don't know. Do you have another one or?
I have another one that's like kind of sweet, but it is a little
Those are
bit
good
funny.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah. We had this girl. She was so sweet. She would talk like this at this level all day long. She was so sweet, but she would talk so slow and so quiet. And I would the thing is like she would raise her hand to like answer things, and she knew like she was doing good in the class, but it's just like, and there would be points, and you've probably been here before, where it's like, I know nobody else knows the answer, but I know you do.
Yeah.
And she had her hand raised, and I would call on her, and then she would like just be so quiet and so slow in her talking. And I heard her talk other ways. So she definitely was doing it on purpose. It wasn't like a learning thing. Like she was very smart. It's just like she had this like character and this persona that she was trying to do. But she was a really, really sweet, nice girl. But one day we were in class, and I'm teaching, we're about to do some independent work. And so I send the kids off to do their own thing. And I go sit at my desk, and I'm grading papers, and then all of a sudden I just hear a girl scream. She screams, and then a kid, he's like, "Oh no!" He gets up and he gets onto his desk, and I was like, "What is going on?" And they're like, "There's a snake in here," and I was like, "What?" She's like, there's a snake in here." So then there's like this little snake in my classroom, and then one of the boys in there, he's like, "Oh, I can get him, I can catch him." And he was like, he kind of like, he's one of those like country, Polk County. He's got his boots on. He's like, "I'll go get it." So the girls are screaming, the guys are scared, and then this one kid is going around the classroom trying to get this snake, right? So he gets the snake and he grabs it, and he's like, "Can I kill it?" And I'm like, "Well, just hold on a second."
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I don't really care what happens to the snake, but like for the sake of, let's be humane, let's just go take it outside. So then we all go outside, right? We all go outside. We have the little snake. I'm not for it's tiny. I'm like, and it's like a garden snake, so I know it's not going to hurt anybody. And he's like, "No, I do this all the time in my house." So he has a little snake, and we take it outside, and we put it on the ground outside, and then everyone like goes back inside. Well, this girl, the girl I talked about in the beginning, she stays there. She's just standing there looking at the snake, and she won't move. And everybody's inside, and I'm like, "Hey, Scarlett," and he's like, "Hey, do you want to come back inside?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, well, like we have to come back inside. Like we still have 30 minutes left in the period." And she's like, "I can't leave him." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "He's my pet."
Oh no.
I was like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "He's my pet. I brought him from my house."
Oh no. Who just like let her pet go?
"I brought him from my house. I caught him at my house, and I've been keeping him. And I brought him here, and I can't leave him." And I'm like, "Did you buy the snake?" She's like, "No, I caught him at my house.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping him for
This is what I've been trying to tell you.
So apparently she caught this snake at her house and had been keeping it at her house for months and made it like her pet and brought it to school.
Dude.
And I'm like, you can't bring that snake back in class. Like we have to leave it. She's like, oh, okay. I guess I'll just go and catch another one tomorrow. So she left it up there. But I was like, that caught me so off guard. But she's like, he's my pet. Yeah. I brought him here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, dude, last one. And we should talk about like the music too. Okay. But I had part of my job at the school was to scan kids in. And we had a boys program and a girls program. Girls program was upstairs, boys were downstairs. So I'd scan in the boys like as they were coming into school and all that. And we actually did, funny enough, we won't go into that one. Like the girls program was scanning a girl in and she had brought a full like large snake in her backpack with the idea that they'll make me go home. Like I can't stay at school. And so like teachers just put it in a vase or something like that for the day. And she had to go to school. Anyways, I was scanning these kids in and the whole routine is like, pockets out, like pull your pockets out and like, take your jacket off. We check it, all that kind of stuff, cause this is winter in PA.
Yeah.
And so kid comes in and it was just the most like, it's just the best case scenario of how this situation could have gone down. And I'm so thankful that he responded in this way. But I'm like, the usual, hey man, pull your pockets out and like, put your jacket out, all that stuff. So he goes into his pockets and as soon as he puts hand in his pocket, his eyes just grow like 5 times larger than they were. And he's like, just quiet. I'm like, and I knew what he knew. And I was like, you got to show me, buddy.
Yeah.
And like that. And that's all I said. I was like, you got to do it, buddy. And so he just pulls out his hand and he has a lighter and a particular substance. And I was like, and I just like sighed. I just looked at him and he looked at me. It was like his second week at the school. And I was like, you know what I got to do, buddy. And he goes, I know. It was just this like perfect moment of like, I was like, all right, man, well, go to the office while I figured this out. He was like, okay. So it was just like the easiest way this could have gone down. I'll always remember that too, because I'm like, he could have spazzed out or tried to run, but he was just like, he's like accepted his defeat, Dude, well, okay. Let's talk about like something that I'd love like to share with people that are listening to this, because I do believe this, man. I've known you for a while, and not just saying this because you're here, but like I'm a huge fan of the songs that you write and the music that you've done. And obviously, I think most to this point has been like as a part of a team, as a part of collective at the church we go to. Yeah. But you're starting to work on some of your own stuff, right?
Yeah. So I am. I'm hoping to put out a couple singles before the end of the year. It's a process, and I'm sure like whenever you started doing the podcast, like you just kind of like you always conceptualize, and then when you actually start doing it, you're like, oh wow, there's a lot to this process that I'm kind of learning about. So doing my best to put out a couple singles. But yeah, man, it's just been fun. It's something that I wanted to do for a long time. Just kind of do the things that maybe don't fit. Obviously, I love like. Writing music for our church. I think it's a great thing that, that people have responded really well to, and that, is really fun for me. But there are some songs where I'm like, this maybe doesn't fit in that context. So, similar themes, about God, about faith, maybe, trying to be, I really love like humor in songs, and I really love like storytelling in songs. And so maybe some things that like don't fit necessarily in that particular context, but, are more like, kind of like, I guess, pop-esque or, more just kind of like songs that you would just listen to casually. So my hope is just to, put out a couple things and it'll be a mix of things, right? It'll be like whatever I'm feeling. Maybe I might do a more traditional, like, church song, or, maybe it might be nothing to do with, faith or any of those themes at all. Just, I think there's like kind of like a movement right now of like, for a while, like your Spotify profile was like very much so like, it was thought of as like, it has to be in pristine condition and it has to have like, amazing photos and you have to curate it perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of artists that are maybe like my age or younger that are kind of like done with the mystique of that. And it's just like honestly just treat it like a social media profile where you're able to like post things. And I think like, you know, and sorry if I'm going on a little bit of a tangent.
No,
here,
I agree. Yeah.
But I think like for a while I was just really concerned with how I would be perceived, like really concerned with like the response that I would get from things. Oh, would people like this? Would people think that it's weird? Would people, you know, like just, you know, worried about the outcome. And I think that it took a long time, really, because, you know, I've probably had a lot of these songs that I'm gonna do for like the last 2 years, but I just had to kind of take that out of the equation and stop worrying so much about outcome, and really just kind of like step into, more so looking at how can I make a great body of work that is going to show maturity and progression over time, rather than like just hoping that this one song is going to be perfect and it's going to be everything that I need, and it's gonna be the best song that I've ever written and that I've ever done. It's so honestly like depressing to think about it that way. Like, oh, this is gonna be the best thing I ever do. Like, I don't think that I'm gonna write my best songs right now. I don't think hopefully I don't write my best songs 10 years from now. Like, hopefully I have a long career of writing music that's gonna be impactful, you know, for the next 50 years or so. So,
well, I feel like the way that you're thinking about it is like, it's the understanding that like people who follow along with your music and who are going to listen, they understand that you're also on a journey. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and I appreciate that. I do feel like I'm not in music, obviously, but I feel like I see that more and more of like artists are just putting out songs and singles and projects, as opposed to like, maybe like, you know, back in the 90s, 2000s, where everything was really focused on, man, you have an album release, you know, and like, not that that's bad, but like there's like so much focus on like this album has to be perfect, and people were buying like the hard album, as to where now it's like, I imagine so much of this is like the song that hits is going on somebody's playlist, and it's what they're going to come back to and then bounce away. I guess all that to say, like, what's cool about that is I love that like you're willing to say people like, hey, I'm also on a journey in this, like in this thing of like writing music and creating.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I really just had to come to terms with, I think, and I don't know everything, right? Like, I'm not like a guru. Like, I just, just like talking from my own experience, but I just had to realize that like my taste is always in a way going to exceed my skill. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you're first getting started, you know what I mean? Like, cause you, before you begin to create, you curate, right? You find what you like and you put it all together, and you're like, I would like for my thing, whether it's, you know, clothes, a podcast, you know, a work of art, a movie, a song, like I'm like, I want my stuff to be a combination of all this, right? And it's all really good stuff, right? Like you make a mood board, you get all these different influences, you know, and you put all this together, and you're hoping that the product is like somewhat like that. But like, if it's your first go, it's not going to be as good as like, you know, Yellow by Coldplay. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, your first song isn't going to be that good. Right. It could be, right? And some people are really, really gifted, and they're super talented, and they can do that on their first go. But for the majority of people, like, it's not really so much about like doing one thing really, really good. It's about doing it a lot and understanding that, okay, in the beginning, my taste, what I like and what I want to do is going to probably exceed my ability to create and my skill. But over time, that gap will close. But it will never close unless I just actually start doing it.
Yeah. Do you feel like because I've seen like different opinions on this. Do you feel like you're a part of that, like you said, like creating the mood board, this is what I want my like art, and this is what I want to put out to look and feel. Do you think that changes? Obviously it changes over time. It just gets better, but like changes like to the point of like, oh man, this could look completely different in the future. Or it's like, hey, this is kind of what I stick to. It's like, this is what I set out to do. Like,
yeah, I think things change. The hardest thing about changing something in the process is that it always delays. Yeah. And I'm like And I don't do this perfect. Obviously, like I don't have these singles out yet because I'm in this process of figuring this out. But when you change in the middle, you delay the progress in the process, and then you end up with no product when you could have had something.
For sure.
And so what I find like that helps me is if I'm in the middle, like, you know, I'm a big mood board guy. Like I do it for Pinterest. I love Pinterest. I just like, I just do it for fun sometimes. Like, let me just put a mood together real quick and just like, you know, maybe that could help me get inspired for a song or something else in the future. But if I'm finding like, oh, I'm leaning towards something new now, I oftentimes will just be like, that's the next project. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing these songs right now and they're kind of like more poppy, more like, you know, like a big influence is like Smashing Pumpkins, like 1975, like kind of alt rock, like a little bit of like electronic, like housey stuff, but just like there's just a lot of different influences there. But it's definitely like pop music. And then I also I really, really love just traditional worship music. And I would love to do like a recording that's like that. And I have a lot of songs that are like that. But I think if I switch directions on the vibe or like the idea that I have right now, I'm just going to delay and like make kind of halfway what I want in both, rather than just like, let me just finish this thing. And maybe I'm kind of over it and that's fine. But like, let me just get it done. And then I'll move on to the next thing and it can be a completely different atmosphere. Does that,
that makes sense. Yeah. I guess what I was thinking of is like, you know, you see these artists like Post Malone, who's like, who's gone from rock to hip hop to country.
Sure.
And like, I do also, there's a reality of like, his fan base was so large and so dedicated that they're willing to go whatever journey he goes on. But it's unique to me where it's like, it takes a special, like, I guess it takes a special uniqueness of like, still like, you still bring who you are. Like, that's what I love Post Malone stuff. Like, I love like, I feel like there's a uniqueness to who he is that he still brought into like the country realm. And that's what I guess that's what I sense. Cause so much of what I've heard from like you in the past, obviously has been worship music. And so I'm excited to hear your new stuff. What I love, personally, I'd love to hear like how you got to this point. Something that I love about the worship songs that you've written, I feel like the best way I can put it is like, there's just like a purity or like like just such a easy way that you like relay a feeling. You know what I mean? Like, it's so like, it's such like a pure way. And there's so many songs like you've done where I felt like oh man, like that's just the way, like it's such a simple way to express it. And it has so much feeling behind it. You know what I mean? How do you get to that? Yeah.
You know, it's, I think it is, something that I aim for. I don't really know like how it came to be. I mean, I guess it just comes from like the influences that I listen to. Like I'm like just very, the music that I like is just cathartic, like in everything, in art, like, you know, the movie A Star Is Born with like Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I wept uncontrollably at that movie. I cried so hard. And I was like, I can't wait to watch this again. Or when it's just like, you know, songs, you know, like Yellow by Coldplay, just a very cathartic song, just like, you know, and so I guess a lot of times I come up with things that I want to say and then without melody or without anything like that. And then I try to find a way to fit that into a chorus or a verse or something like that. But, you know, really it's just like, I think I do. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with just prayer of like, I say, God, like, help me. I got this. You got it into my head. You got it into my soul somehow. Yeah. Help me make this easy for someone else to understand. This feeling of joy or this feeling of aloneness or this feeling of hope or redemption. Like, help me say this in a way that's going to help people not just hear it and like remember it, but like experience it. Because, I think a lot of our relationship with God is built on the experiences that we have with him. And like, worship has been the biggest thing for me, and just being able to connect and so I think that, I just look for that. And I drive myself crazy, 'cause like, I'm like, no, that's not how you say it. This is how you say it. And there's a lot of like revisions that come, but, ultimately I'm like, what can I do to just make it easy for people to understand?
Yes. Yeah.
Where I've been and what's happened to me, and that I want it to happen for them too.
For sure. That's probably the best way to put it, of how I feel like listening to your stuff, like sons and daughters and things like that, where it's like, this is the easiest and maybe innocent like way to just like to say this. That like, I remember when I was like first started going to church, like, gave my life to Christ around the age of like 17, 18-ish, and started being a part of a worship team. And we were writing songs and stuff like that. And I remember like back then, like kind of having that hindsight now of like, we were trying to like we were trying to find like the most, what's the most unused word? Like what are they not saying?
Sure,
it was in a way like making this like very complicated of a way to like describe like what we're singing and like how we're worshiping. And I love how your music brings me in of like, oh, it's just so easy. It's like so true. This is exactly how I feel. And I'm not trying to like overdo it in a sense. It's just like, this is how I'm expressing to like God, like, man, how I honor you, how I love you, how I see you. That's what I appreciate so much about the stuff that you write, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Well, dude, I've had so much fun in like having you on the show. I'd love to have you back at some point. I think it was fun just to talk about some more ridiculous stuff. And when we can talk more about like music and future projects coming up soon. But hey, like for right now, if somebody wants to like follow along with the music that you have written, or kind of like be ready for the music that you're gonna put out, how can they follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on Spotify. If you just look my name up, Michael Delgado, I'm there. Use the picture of me, and you could follow me there. I've got some stuff already that's out that I did with the church that kind of like also lives on my profile, and so you guys could go listen. I think there's like maybe like 6 or 7 songs there that you guys could listen to. I try my best. I was on a good social media run, and it's just so like tiring for me, but I know I have to do it. I have to play the game. So, I think, I don't know, like my Instagram, michael.id, you could do that. And yeah, I mean, those are pretty much like the places that I'm at. I don't really do TikTok right now, or like Twitter or anything like that. I just, I'm on those two. It's just too much for me. Like, it's already stimulation overload, like trying to like do this. So I'm like, I just have to keep it simple and just do like 2 things at a time and try to do them well.
Yeah.
So
I'm just imagining you like going all in now and doing like TikTok dances to like get your music out there, just total opposite.
Yeah. God, if that happens, if I do that, you need to stop me. I need to retain some of my dignity in this and not just completely sell out.
I love it, dude. Well, dude, okay, we have 1 more minute left as we head out here. What's something maybe that you've encouraged us so much in the show, dude? So maybe just one thing as we head out to encourage or just kind of update us on as we head out.
Yeah. So I've been reading this book. One of the books that Alec and I work together. We just went on like this big work retreat, and one of the books I suggested was a book called Grit, and the author escapes me now. It's a woman, and she's very, very, very good book. But basically she talks about how grit and, just like the persistence in chasing after a goal more often than not will lead you there rather than like raw talent. And that's something that I like struggled with. I think like I would always tell myself I'm not good enough. Like I'm not as good as this person. I'm not as good as that person. I can't do it. And I was just measuring everything in talent. But to be honest, like, and she talks about this in the book, like your talent is just your ability to acquire skill. Yeah. And skills are actually the things that you can use to be effective in whatever you do. And so like, I guess that's like where I'm at in my journey right now. Like just understanding that like, I might not be as naturally talented as somebody else, but I am going to be one of the hardest workers. I am going to keep going. And no matter what, like, even if I only get like 100 streams on this first song, like it doesn't matter to me because I know that as I keep going, my skills just going to continue to increase. and I'll dial it in. And so for anybody that's just like making stuff, like don't be discouraged if like your taste is less than your skill right now. If you're not as talented as the person next to you. Oftentimes people that are super talented, they slack off because they don't think they need to do anything, and you'll outwork them and you'll end up doing better than them in the long run. So just keep at it. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know if that was what I was supposed to do with the motivational part. But, I think that's so important for people to know if they're in any kind of creative realm.
Yes.
Just keep at it. Keep doing it. Don't quit.
For sure, man. Well, dude, thank you so much. I look forward to having you back.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks.